Good evening. This is the regular meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals for the town of Newcastle. Today is March 30th, 2022. We have two extensions to start the hearing this evening.
Should I go first?
We'll do Senzari first.
Sure.
Okay. You're looking for a 12-month extension?
Yes, please. Pretty much we were, well, hello, everybody. Hope you're all doing well.
Thank you.
Last year, we received a variance for a front yard setback. As we all know, COVID kind of threw a big monkey wrench into getting work done last year. So we're going to try again this year.
So could you help us understand, sir, when you wish to start, when you anticipate starting, and when will the construction be complete?
We're looking to start at the end of the summer, probably I would say September, and then being enclosed in a couple of months, and then wrapping up before the winter time. There's no heat, there's no plumbing and HVAC or anything like that, so it's really just enclosing a garage box. So I'd say start September, be done by December, somewhere in that range. If all goes well. I mean, I guess that's being hopeful. So maybe add 3 more months onto that. So I guess I'm looking for another year at the end of the day.
So it sounds like you're going to start within the next 7 months.
That's the plan, yeah. We've got some personal things going on with the family that won't let us start until at the end of the summer. Is that problematic?
Well, we're just trying to tie this down. So
sure,
we have to be, we need to be specific in terms of the extension that we give you. So it sounds like, and
can you give an extension longer than a year, or is a year the max? Just I'm asking.
I think the board, in its discretion, can grant an extension beyond a year. But
okay,
well,
we have some family stuff going on which doesn't let us start until the summer, the end of the summer. So the plan was starting September, and being optimistic, we wrap it up in 3 to 6 months. So I guess a 1-year extension would get us to April, and that's, I think, when we expired, because it was a year after it was approved. So that's what I'd be asking for.
So in other words, we will, if we were to make a motion, and I would do that motion if everybody agrees, that you would start as soon as possible.
Yeah.
With a completion date to be April of 2023. That's probably what you're looking for, and I think that's the way we should word it.
Okay.
Unless the board has any other ideas other than that.
I think there should be a date certain when they need to start by. The as soon as possible languages could be problematic.
I understand that the date certainly should be designated, but I understand also that there's a tremendous problem with getting materials and logistics due to this supply problems. And if we pin them down to a certain date and then they don't have the materials that they need, it's going to be thrown back to us to give them another starting date. But I think the completion date is more important than the start date. If they can complete by April of 2023, do we really care when they start?
Never mind.
Eric, would you be more comfortable if we said something like to start by November of this year?
Yeah, I would just put maybe put a longer outside date on it. I think for Tom's purposes, I don't know if it's as far as filing like the building permit application, that kind of thing, where they are. I wonder where things stand with respect to putting in the application, and beginning that work. So I think that it's more of a concern with respect to the building department, and if they don't have a problem with it, I wouldn't have a problem with it, so.
Building department doesn't have a problem with putting a termination date.
I mean, my only concern is if we say we're not doing it for this one, or why are we having a start date for all the applications? We typically give a date to commence and a date to finish. So I'm a little hesitant to make an exception for one, when everybody's having the same issue. So I would prefer to put an outside date, as the chair said, to something like November or December, if you want to put that in, and just put it on a far outside date that the applicant believes they'll be able to start by.
Yeah, we're definitely okay with a start date. I don't want to set precedent and anything like that. So, we could do a 6-month date from whenever it would start with the, a finish up within the year, that kind of thing. That sounds reasonable.
So then I would amend my comment to say, let's put a start date of December of 2022 with a completion date of April of 2023.
Okay.
If the board is okay, and our legal counsel agrees with that.
Is it April, the December 30th and April 30th, or December?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
That's good. Okay,
Yeah.
I like that.
I second that.
Chairman Kenneth Cooper,
In favor?
Anthony Giardina,
Aye.
Harvey Bonaparte,
Aye.
Howard Dubs,
Aye.
Michael Nolan.
Aye.
Thank you. You have your extension.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening, everybody.
You too.
Okay. Now we have Homes and Homes, which are also looking for an extension, and they're looking for, what are they looking for?
I think they're looking for 1 year, Tony.
1 year again? Okay. Is Chuck Napoli around today? Can he explain to us what's happening?
Yeah, we are on, we've designed it to be a modular project, and we're on a very, very, very long list at the factory. They had a large problem getting materials at the factory, let alone work at the factory, and they were it was just the old COVID thing slowed everything down. Forget about the materials, it was the labor that they couldn't use. And anyway, so we're on the back of a very, very long waiting list, even to get the stuff to our project. In the meantime, we've handled some of the site issues. We had a conflict in 2 surveys. We had to, I guess, pick the survey that was the most accurate in the latest survey. We had to do soil sample. We're ready for construction. We do have a building permit. We've had it for a long time. But again, we have a factory that cannot produce, and we need as much time as possible. That's why I need another year. Once it gets built, once it gets started, that goes pretty quick. It's modular, but just getting the product to the site is the problem.
Like the last applicant, Chuck, can you forecast when the work would start? And it is okay to be generous in terms of the date that you select.
Thank you very much for that question, but I've asked the factory, when can we get product? And they said we can't answer that question either. So I'm just asking for another year, and if we could get started and sooner, we'll do that. If we can't, we might even have to ask for another extension.
How long will the work itself, the construction work, take?
Yeah, they say it'll get done in about 4 months.
So if we give you 1 year to complete it and back off the 4 months to start, does that sound acceptable at this point in time?
I need 1 year to start and 4 months to build. I would like. Is that was your question? Is that your proposal?
I'm sorry, I may not have understood that. Now I do. Now that you've said it that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I again know that the factory can't give me a date. I can't get a date from a factory, so it's going to really be hard for us to commit here. So I think we're going to have to take as long as possible. as long as possible and get in the ground. And so you tell me how much, and then if I have to come back, I come back.
So I think what you said, Chuck, was 1 year to start and 16 months to
Total?
from today to complete it.
Yeah, that'd be great. That it might not be painted, but we'd be 90%.
Okay, that would be my motion.
I'll second.
Okay.
Chairman Kenneth Cooper,
In favor?
Anthony Giardina,
Aye.
Harvey Bonaparte,
Aye.
Howard Dubs,
Aye.
Michael Nolan.
Aye.
Thank you. You have your extension, Chuck.
Thank you guys. Good night.
Good night.
Okay. First application is Stone, 151 Harriman Road.
Good evening, members of the board. Allison Stone is on the call, I believe, as well.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
And can I share my screen? I'll just quickly walk you through the project.
Yes, you can.
Great. Is that visible to everyone?
Yep.
Okay, great. So this is the site under consideration. This is the Allison and Adams house. There's a small one-story addition in the back. This is the neighbor to the north, who we've received a letter from, which I'll be addressing, to the south, sorry. And this is the neighbor, yes, to the north and then to the south. The lots are undersized. It's half-acre zoning. This lot is about 60% of that size. The side yard is just under 20 feet and over 20 feet on this side, and the neighbors are maybe 11 or 12 feet from the property line. It's a little diagram of the areas of the project. This is the original footprint of the house. We're proposing extending this existing in line with the existing addition, building out on both sides, and then a second-story addition here. Just a little context. This is the view from the street. This is the neighbor to the left. Neighbor on the other side. This is a view from the back. Both neighbors, the property line is here in this hedge and over here on this wall. This is the existing addition, and we're proposing building up to 18 inches from the corners on the ground floor, and then a second-story addition here. Here's another view. You can see the view of the neighbor. I believe this is the door the neighbor took a picture from. And we do require variances. That's why we're here. But I think I'll show you that they're less significant than they appear. So this shows the existing conditions, and then this is a sketch of the addition. So we're building out on both sides of the existing addition, and then this cantilever's 2 feet out at the second floor, and the ridge of the new roof lines up with the ridge of the existing roof. This is the one of the images from the neighbor. This is the existing addition right here. This is our new addition, and the ridge hits the middle of this ridge, so it's not quite as dramatic as it appears. So this is the actual outline of the addition. In terms of the requirements, I think this is, let's see, this, I'll come back and go over the zoning matrix. This is the front addition. This is the new addition on the side. This is the view from the back, and this is the other side of the addition right here. So the existing addition is right here. This is where we're building. The height of the building from the Great Plain is 25 feet. It is a 2-story building. It's not a 3-story building. It has an unfinished attic. And these windows are just to a mezzanine, which is less than a third of this floor below. So under the the zoning, it is a two-story structure, and it's 10 feet lower than zoning allows. So maybe what I'll do is just, since we did have some very specific concerns from the neighbor, I'll just address them directly. As I said, we do need a variance. The existing structure, I'll quoting from their letter, the existing structure is 7 feet within the maximum FAR. The proposed addition will exceed the allowable FAR by 783 square feet, which is 27% above the maximum allowable FAR. The lot,
Mr.
as I
Coleman?
said,
Excuse me, Mr. Coleman.
Yes.
I'm sorry, maybe I missed this. Maybe you could explain to the board the reason for the expansion and what it is accomplishing for the homeowner?
sure, yeah. So this is the existing house right here. There's a very small kitchen, and then it's for a traditional second floor. This is used as an office, and the homeowners would like to have a larger kitchen and family room with a mudroom entrance at the back. So this is where the existing kitchen is now. And then they're proposing a master bedroom and master bath at the second floor. So in terms of the variances that are required, we need we are not increasing, it's a non-conforming lot. As I said, it's half-acre zoning. This lot is 13,000 square feet. And the way FAR is calculated, it includes half of the existing basement and half of the existing garage. And the total of those spaces, which are existing, is 787 square feet. We're proposing 250 square feet on the first floor, which is here and here, and then a 560 square foot second floor. So if you don't count this space and the basement, we're increasing the FAR by the amount of those spaces roughly. And then there was discussion of development coverage. You know, the houses on this property, you know, all these houses are set far back from the road, so there's a very long drive. We're only increasing the footprint by 250, actually 150 square feet. Yeah, 150 square feet, because we are removing some construction. We're removing a little porch here. I'll show you here. Might be clearer. So this is what we're adding on the ground floor. So we're adding 150 square feet net. The existing lot is 20% over, but we're adding less than 1% of area. So the lot coverage is already significantly over. We're not adding a lot of coverage. And then regarding the issue of the side yard setbacks, this may be a little bit of an area of interpretation that we'll have to revisit. The side yard requirements are 20, minimum of 20, and a total of 50. The house is non-conforming on this side, 19.93, and it's conforming on this side, but the sum is non-conforming. So we set the addition in 18 inches on both sides. So we're complying with the side yard requirements, but not the sum, although we're not increasing the non-conformance. So that 50-foot requirement is something we may have to discuss. And then finally, as I mentioned, the definition of a story in Newcastle is that it's above ground, that it's finished. There isn't as there is in the building code, there is not a calculation for percentage that is occupiable. So for the zoning, it is a two-story building, and as I said, it's 10 feet below what the maximum height is in this district. And so that's really the project. Happy to, take questions or enter into some discussion.
So I have one question. The existing, as you said, the existing house does not meet the sum of the sides requirement. But
Correct.
are you telling me that the proposed addition will meet the sum of the sides?
No, that's that's something we'd have to discuss. It's 5.5 feet over the 50-foot requirement.
Even the new part?
The new part is, yeah. It
Okay.
meets the 20 feet minimum,
Right.
on all sides, but it doesn't meet
Okay.
the 50.
It
So,
doesn't meet the sum.
so I've discussed with Allison and Adam, we could come back and ask for a variance if we need it. I'm not sure we do, something to discuss with Tom for that sum. Or we could bring the project in those 5.5 feet, 2 feet on each side, 2.5 feet on each side.
What is the current sum?
Current sum is, I have that right here.
The current sum.
Yeah, the current sum is 44.14.
So your construction will be increasing the sum to 50?
No, it's,
Closer to 56, I think, right? 55
yes,
and a half?
yeah,
you
we're
said?
55, we're 55.6, correct. So we would have to either, I believe, slim this down so that the sum of this and this is 50. Right now it's 44.41. So we are 5.5 feet under the required 50 feet for the sum of these 2 yards.
But the house currently sticks out farther than the addition would.
Correct, right. It's 21, yeah.
Because the addition is set in a little bit on each side.
Correct, yeah.
So I can probably answer your question about the side yard setbacks. You're going to need a variance for the combination of the 2 yards because you're increasing the nonconformity of the addition. So you'll need to renotice the public hearing for that variance.
Okay.
Or I think, Amanda, I think I heard Mr. Coleman say they might go back and adjust the drawing and the work so that it didn't exceed the 50. Is that, did I hear
Yeah,
that correct?
So I think there's the issue of the lot coverage and there's the issue of the FAR. The lot coverage doesn't seem like such a big ask, but the FAR is a little bit more contentious, and that affects the second floor. So I guess I wanted to maybe take a straw poll of where the board was at with the variances before you, and then we would maybe reappear with a plan that we feel confident you'd approve.
Mr. Coleman, is it your contention that the mass of the new house is similar to the rest of the neighborhood?
Yes, yeah, we kind of felt all along that we were very much in keeping with the scale and size of the existing house. This house is a little bit bigger than the neighbors, but it's on the back of the property, and it's also the house that's furthest from the property lines in terms of the neighbors.
And in looking at the design as you were working with the homeowner, you took into consideration that you were exceeding the coverages and that you would have to come before the board, and so you made efforts to minimize the overages.
Yeah, yes, we did. Yeah, we had discussed not extending beyond the foundation of the existing addition, but decided to stay within that. So we were mindful of the scale of the building and the size of the backyard, et cetera.
Pam, is there anyone to speak to this matter? I know that we received a letter from, I believe it's Mr. and Mrs. Zangi. Are they on the line, or is anyone else on the line who wishes to be heard on this matter?
They're present, but they do not have their hand raised. Mr. Zangi, do you want to speak? Okay, he's chatted something in chat, but I can, let me, yes. You may unmute yourself, Mr. Zangi.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, we can hear you.
Okay, I mean, if you show the second floor plan, please. A lot of your area is in that second floor master suite and the mezzanine level to the attic level above that,
Right.
which is creating a lot of height and mass and volume for the addition. And that's what's bumping you over your FAR dramatically.
Well, we were careful to, not go beyond the ridge, and it's a low ridge here.
Not really that lower ridge, it's the main ridge of the house.
Correct, but if you go up into that attic, you can only stand in this area.
Yeah, like most of the other houses.
Right, and so the mezzanine is, and we could have just put a ceiling in here, and this would be attic.
Right, but I mean, you can see from these side elevations how out of scale the addition is. It's not an addition, it's almost 2/3 the size of the original house.
What are you referencing when you say that, sir? I'm sorry.
Look at the addition, which is the back elevation on the top right. Right, is almost the width of the house. And then if you look at these two side elevations, the one on the top left and the one on the bottom right, and you notice how far the addition bumps out.
Well, this is the addition. This is the elevation that would face Mr. Zangi, and
right.
The existing addition is right here.
Correct.
Okay.
But the new work at the end of the day.
Right. So this is the area we're talking about right here, which is your drawing. This is your drawing here.
Right.
I've sketched in where the addition would be.
Right. So go back to your side elevation. Okay. And if you were to measure the volume of the addition and compare its volume to the volume of the house, you'll notice that it's about 2/3. It's a large amount. So the objection is the volume of the house, or the volume of the addition, and the fact that it blocks the southern sky. So when you sit in our house and you look out, you can see sky now. The addition is going to block the sky.
Can we see a picture of the neighbor's house again?
Sure. This is the neighbor from the front.
Is that?
And here I have a panoramic view.
This
so
is
this
house.
This is neighbor.
And they're in the photos that I sent with my objection. I don't know if the board got all the photos that I sent.
I have those here if you'd like me to open them up.
Yeah,
Sure.
I thought the board would have them in front of them as well.
The board does have them, just.
Okay, all right. I took them from different vantage points, from our living room, from our patio, and from our terrace on that side of the house.
So this is your diagrams. So this is the view.
So that's the view when you're in our living room, and you can see the 1-story addition in the previous photograph. There's their 1-story addition. So the proposed addition goes to about where the corner post of their fence is. So if you go to the next image, I drew it coming basically up from that corner post of the fence up to the height of the eave, and then took it across.
Right. But the roof is not this steeply pitched. I agree that we are blocking some sky and we need variance, but it's not that bad.
Maybe I took artistic liberty as an architect.
Right. So that's your view. So that we're coming out to about here, but in line with this, and then we're extending out. So, and then the ridge joins the middle of the roof. So the ridge of the new roof is actually back here. So it's receding much more steeply than it's shown.
Yeah, but the edge of the vertical edge of your addition is pretty much where I drew it, because if you go and look, the corner post of their fence is almost aligned with the corner of the house.
So I would agree that we are, the addition is right here for sure. Here's that comparison.
Tom, could you help the board a little bit? Just trying to interpret the scale of the work and.
Well, what they're proposing is to add a 16-foot wide second floor on the lower level, which is not as wide, looks to be about 14 feet. They can have a mezzanine by New York State residential codes at a certain volume, which they're employing, and they can only use part of the attic that has adequate, ceiling height to do so. So that's why they're tying in my opinion, the ridge line to the existing ridge that's there, so they get as much volume as possible. Now, if they were to forego the mezzanine, then they could put a lower roof line, possibly, or if they narrow the building with what was possibly a proposal, the ridge would drop by narrowing the building as well, because it brings it closer in. So there are a couple of alternatives if the owners and the design staff want to go that route.
And just maybe to help the discussion, I think we're open to two options. One, which is to keep the first floor the width that it is. That would require we come back for the sum of the side yard setbacks. So, and not build the second floor. That's one option, and Allison can confirm. The other option would be to pull these in, it's actually 2 3/4 feet, almost 3 feet on each side. And then you could grant the variances we're requesting, and we wouldn't need a variance for the additional sum of the side yards. We would still need an FAR, a variance for FAR, and that mezzanine is included in the FAR, so it's kind of bonus space, but it does bump the calculation up. So I think we'd like to either do, we're willing to concede some things.
Well, I think, Jim, can I just say what I think?
Absolutely. No, yeah, please.
So I think we're definitely willing to concede the second floor. That was something Adam and I were sort of discussing, whether we wanted to do this whole project anyway. We definitely want the first floor, and pretty much I'd prefer to have it the width that it is in the plans, so that we can sort of maximize the living space on the first floor. I think certainly, so we would certainly be willing to, or more than willing to take the second floor off the table. It was something we were strongly considering, but decided the scope of the project was too big at this time. And also, I'd also like just to say, that it certainly was not our intent to cause any animosity with our neighbors. It's not who we are. And it's not how he or I sort of seek to live. And so it's certainly something we would be more than willing, that we could scratch. We just would rather keep the first floor.
In which case, I think I would have to renotice and appear next month on the with the variance for the sum of the two side yards as well.
Unfortunately.
But we could go ahead and proceed with our with some risk that with our whole permit package and submit that as well.
Would that eliminate the need for a FAR variance?
I believe it. I would have to look. Let's see.
Probably not, because you're only 7 square feet under the FAR at the moment.
I think you're right. So I think we would still need, it would be different numbers, but we'd still need the FAR, yes.
I mean, look, as an architect, I don't really want to stop anyone from ever building. But I just want to make sure that it's within reason and within the rules.
Me too.
So, Mr. Zangi, what's your reaction to the accommodation that the homeowner has offered?
Yeah, I think that's a far better solution. I mean, I think it meets with the scale of the neighborhood, and you know, it doesn't totally blow the FAR out of you know, beyond reasonability. I understand the side yard issues. It is a 65-foot lot. Some of the other lots in the neighborhood are only 50. So there is the space there to honor the side yard setback. You know, the narrower lots can't even conform to the half-acre zoning.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Mr. Coleman, do you want to hear from the board in terms of their inclination as it relates to the accommodation that you're willing to make?
Yes, I guess what we're proposing is basically, let me just go to the elevations. So we would keep this footprint, and probably we would do a pitched roof on the back right here. So this would all come down. We'd have to look at that. I'm not sure whether it'd be a shed, you know, because we'll have existing windows and things. But I think what we're proposing is eliminating the second floor addition, just doing a first floor addition, and I'll resubmit a complete package with the required variances to Tom.
Okay, speaking only for myself, I would be inclined to, subject to the final submission, be inclined to approve such an application. Tony?
I'd have to agree with you, Ken, subject to our review of the new application and the adjustments that are going to be made. It looks very promising to me.
I would also agree that it is more acceptable than the current proposal. I would like to know that the FAR will be minimally changed.
Yeah, I'll do that calculation for sure.
Okay.
I would be inclined to approve it based on the change to the 1 floor as opposed to 2. The neighbor then would have, you know, be able to see the sky much more readily.
Right. Michael?
I agree as well. And just to clarify, the first floor then would not be pulled in 2.5 feet on either side, then we'd keep the original plan as is.
Correct. I'll be submitting for a variance for the sum of the lots, not
Right.
just
Yeah.
one
No, I
single
think it's very fair.
Good.
Okay.
Can I just ask that, since that, Fred, you were mentioning, this is to Mr. Zangi, that it is possible are you concerned with the 2.5 feet not being pulled in? Because I don't want to be back here in a month also having the same conversation about how this is too wide.
Okay. Mr. Fortunato, Mr. Zangi, you can unmute yourself.
Thank you. I was waiting for you to unmute me.
Oh.
No, I'm okay with the variance on the side yard. It's the height. It's the height that was
Right. No, that's fine. I'm just wanting to make sure we weren't going to end up in the same situation again.
no.
Okay, so assuming you can make the proper notifications and submissions, we will see you next month.
Great. Well, thank you very much. I definitely will. And thanks to everyone, and particularly Allison and Adam for their patience and also working with everyone on this. So thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, we ready for the next one?
Yes.
Okay, Iskovitz, 16 Red Oak Lane.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Thanks for letting us speak here tonight. So Seth and Stacy, we reside at 16 Red Oak Lane. About a year ago, we requested and received setback requirements from the town and placed the shed that everyone thought was code compliant based on those setback requirements. It was inspected and CO'd. And then we went back a few months ago to submit an application for a generator. We did file that application based on those original requirements that we had. Thought we were placing it where it would be code compliant, and then we were told there was an administrative error, which brings us here tonight. So there are two variances. One is for the shed, which is, excuse me, from the rear. We originally thought it needed to be more than 35 feet and placed it about 36 feet, and the requirement is 50. And by the way, if we were to place it at 50, it would be placed right in the middle of the yard. So I don't know that that would necessarily work. It looks really good where it is right now. And then from the generator perspective, we were going to place it from the side yard 10 feet out, and thought that would be code compliant, but we need to be 35. The challenge there is there's about 47 feet between the house and that side yard. With the basement windows, we would need to be at least 5 feet out of the house, and that is the side yard that really all the neighborhood and our kids and everybody use and play, etc. And so where we thought we were placing it would be really the best. Our property is kind of like a corner unit, so this would actually be placed further back from the front of the street, and it's also more around the wooded area. So let me stop there and open it up for any questions. Can you hear us?
So on the shed, so the shed where it's currently placed, is that a walkway or something that it is to the side of? No?
No, that is all grass. So maybe there was something there early on, years before we lived there, but as far as we know, it's all been, it's grass, and the majority of that property right there is wooded area. So everything behind the shed is all wooded area.
So you've taken it sort of to the limit of where you could in your rear yard before you would hit the wooded area. Is that a fair way to explain
Yeah,
it?
rear and side.
Okay.
Even from the side there where it says shed and all the way to the back to the rock wall, that's all wooded area. Maybe it's easier if I share my screen. I have a picture up here just so we're looking at the same thing. Everything behind here, this is all wooded area. There's no driveway or walkway or anything there. So everything is a grass yard here.
Okay. And maybe you could use your pointer to show us the generator location.
Yes. Okay. So on this side of the house here is where the electrical comes in. You can see we have about 47 feet from the house to the side property line. This whole area here is wooded on our side for the 10 feet and also on their side. And then also the front here is also wooded, so it would be nice and blocked. It's also a hill area. If the generator was to go to the house over here, because of the basement windows, we'd need to be at least 5 feet out. And so the placement of the generator would go right pretty much smack in the middle of the yard. So by placing it here, we're further back from the front of the property. We're a little bit more contained with the wooded area around it. And then it leaves the main area that we use relatively open for us.
So that area between the proposed generator location and the house, could you just explain to us how is that used? Is it a play area? Is it what?
It's a flat yard. So we use it to play football and soccer. Kids get a little bit rowdy, but if that was like from our property perspective where it looks large, this is all wooded area here. The back here is a lot of wooded area, so we don't have as much just green area here where the leach fields are. And so this is what's used because it's the flat land. It's where we're active and play.
How far does the generator have to be from the house?
So based on the new requirements that, so from the house, it would need to be at least 5 feet. It would need to be at least 5 feet off the house.
If it was 5 feet off the house, would you still need a variance?
No.
So I'm not sure why, if you could put it 5 feet off the house,
we would lose
what?
We would lose the property here where the kids play football and soccer and run around. And that's really the flat yard that we have on our
5 feet off the house, so
it's enough. So you have 5 feet off the house. You have to put the platform for the generator. There's generators a few feet as well. It takes up a decent amount of space. It would stick out, and it would also be seen from the street much easier from here because there's nothing blocking it. Versus here, it would really be more contained around the wooded area.
Are your neighbors close to the wooded area?
So they are in a cul-de-sac, so their house kind of sits almost facing the cul-de-sac, almost at an angle. So they have a wooded area there as well. They also have no windows on that side of the house. And they're also good friends of ours and would be okay with it. They're aware, all of our neighbors are aware of this.
So you've gotten approvals from your neighbor on that side of the house for the location of your generator?
Yes.
How far is the house of your neighbor from where the generator will be placed?
I think their house would probably be equal distance. So figure around the 47 feet from that line.
I might have missed this, but where your electrical service comes into the house, right there.
Right in the corner right there.
Why can't the generator be alongside the house on the Red Oak Lane side? What's the reason for not putting it there? It would seem more logical to put it near the electrical service. And if it were on the front of the house, that you have two front yards.
That's where the generators go, by the electrical.
How are you going to get the lines from the generator to the electrical?
There will be a trench. It'll be in the ground.
Yeah, why can't the generator be next to the house? It looks like that's the front step on Red Oak Lane side. Between the front step and the corner of the house, is there no place there that the generator could be placed?
And you wouldn't need
in
a
front of the house.
Pardon me?
Are you asking to place the generator in the front of the house?
I'm asking, yeah, why not there? There must be a reason for it not being there. What is it?
Visually, it would look, it would be an eyesore. That's the front of the property.
Right, I understand that, but it could be screened somehow. Then you wouldn't need a variance at all.
No, that's not possible. We could not put a generator in the front of the house. it wouldn't look right, and not in the front of our yard either. We wouldn't do that.
What about the back of the house?
Back of the house, we have our septic tank and leach fields. Can't put it back there.
You can't put it 5 feet from the back of the house? It will affect your septic tank?
Yep, our septic tank is right here, and our leach fields come right in the back.
Well, what about 5 feet off the back wall of the house? What's there?
Deck.
Oh, you have a deck there,
Yep,
and it's a high deck or a low deck?
it's a high deck.
Could it be
I mean,
placed
well,
under-
high deck, it's only a
No, what
couple
I'm
feet off.
driving at is could it be placed under the deck?
No.
Because,
So it's a low deck. It's not a high deck.
okay, we're just trying to get all the bases covered here so that.
Yeah.
So that we
No,
have
it's
everything.
definitely a low deck.
All right, so you can't fit it under there. So you're getting,
No.
you're very restricted. We understand that.
And so the way the yard is, this is all woods on both sides of the property. And this behind that is all woods. And this is all woods. And there's trees between our properties like that. And so if we placed it here, it would come out in the middle of the yard. And then we would lose really the only flat yard we have to use with our kids.
Okay.
And it would also, again, just be visually seen from the street versus be a little bit more hidden and back.
Pam, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on this matter?
No one has their hand raised at this time, no.
Board, any other questions for the applicant?
How high is your deck in the back?
It's only 2 feet high.
Oh.
It's a first floor deck.
Mhm.
Anything else, board? Anyone? Tony,
No, I'm good.
you're good?
I'm good. Yep.
Okay. I make a motion, we close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Chairman Kenneth Cooper,
Yay.
Anthony Giardina,
Aye.
Harvey Bonaparte,
Aye.
Howard Dubs,
Aye.
Michael Nolan.
Aye.
Like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that the application by Seth and Stacy Itzkovich for 2 variances, one for a generator, one for a shed, be approved for the following reasons, and we'll start with the generator first. The applicant has explored every conceivable possibility to locate the shed, and the chosen location is the best location for all concerned and for the best use of the generator. And installing the generator in that location will not create an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood. As I had said, there has been explored every location other on the property, and the variance sought for this one cannot be achieved other than placing the generator in the proposed location. While this is a substantial variance in this instance, it is not germane to the fact because of these restrictions on the location. There'll be no adverse effect to the physical environment or conditions in the neighborhood. It's a self-created hardship. but in this case, the benefit to the applicant will far outweigh any detriment to the neighborhood or to the town. With regard to the shed, the shed's location was determined because of a inadvertent error in the zoning location of the property. That being said, it still is in the best location for the use and the purpose of the applicant. There's a lot of woods in the area. This is the only location where it can be properly set without infringing into the woodland and still be usable by the applicant. And once again, the location of the shed will not create undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood. There is no other way to achieve the benefits sought other than by granting the variance. There will be no adverse effect on the physical environment or conditions. The shed is in place, but if you can start your generator work within 6 months and finish within a year, we should grant. We will require a survey upon completion.
I
We
second.
appreciate you hearing us and the approval. Thank you.
We haven't approved it yet.
Oh.
Chairman Kenneth Cooper,
In favor?
Anthony Giardina,
Aye.
Harvey Bonaparte,
Aye.
Howard Dubs,
Aye.
Michael Nolan.
Aye.
Now you have your variances.
Thank you so much.
Go forth and enjoy.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Have a great
Good
night.
evening.
Okay, next we have McCarthy.
Hi, good evening.
Taconic Road.
Good evening.
Lisa Fitzgerald is here as well. She is the one in charge from Yost and Campbell, who I bought the generator from. And this generator and the tanks we had a variance, I think it was last year, right? We were given a variance to put it in the location where it is. We provided photographs of the location with the flags where the generator would be put and I forgot the survey map that was available from the building department was also submitted with the application. But then when Mr. DePaul came over and inspected it, or the building inspector came, they said that it was not in the place where it was approved for. So I don't quite understand how that could happen, but I think Lisa Fitzgerald is prepared to explain exactly what happened. Go ahead, Lisa. You
Okay, so we were working off an older survey and had I just miscalculated. We missed it by a few feet, and the generator is fully installed. It's been fully operational since July. So any kind of complaints that may have come in because it was incorrect, we haven't heard any. But that it was an error because we were working off an older survey.
So is the amount
Mrs. McCarthy prefers to leave it in the place that it's in still. So that's the reason for our request for another variance, to leave it in the spot that it was installed in.
and the location today requires a larger variance than this board or another board had previously granted?
Correct.
Do you know the facts around what the previous variance that was approved was?
I have some information from Mr. DePaul. The original variance, it's a little confusing to me. So we thought we were getting a
30 and in front and 20 in the back. And I think it turns out what we really needed was 45 and 32. So from the it looks like we should have been at 45 feet from the property line, and we're only.
I'm sorry, your connection's very bad. We can't hear you.
Tom, can you explain what she's requesting and what was granted previously?
Oh, she's frozen.
He's frozen.
I believe, Mr. DePaul pointed out that there was an 8-foot difference, I believe it was.
That's the problem here.
And I'm not sure, how that happened because, we submitted the pictures with everything there. We were given the variance and then it did. And plus there were a couple of inspectors from the building department. I don't know if they had, anything to do with it, but they came before at different stages of the installation of the generator. And nobody said anything about the fact that it might be in the wrong place.
Well, were they working? I'm sorry, were they working off the survey that you had given to them?
They were working off whatever information we had given to the board the last time. And I'm not sure, they had to inspect it at different stages of the installation.
Well,
and I don't know if they were, even paying attention to the location, maybe not. But it was installed where we thought it was supposed to be installed.
So Ms. McCarthy, why is it you can't move it to the location that was approved previously?
It can be. Everything would have to be dug up and the pad for the generator would have to be moved as well. Everything would have to be moved. Everything would have to be dug up. We have a line going from the electrical, which is on the other side of the driveway. And, basically it could be done. It would be very expensive and we'd have to move everything and dig everything up. And that's why. And right now it's in the location where we propose that it be. So I don't know. It's very far from the neighbor's actual house. There's woods between a lot of woods between the house and my house and the location of the generator. So
you have a very large piece of property.
do you have the material in front of you?
Well, I don't know.
Any material in my packet for this application.
Excuse me? You don't have it?
No. I at least have a copy of the survey.
You have the last survey on completion? Or you have the original survey?
The survey is December 2021.
That was the completion survey. Yeah, I don't know what happened to Lisa. She had all the paperwork. Or I have the paperwork as well, but I thought she was going to present it. But basically, as I recall, the letter from Mr. DePaul, it said that it was off by 8 feet from what was approved.
8 feet is 8 feet is a.
And I'm not even sure 8 feet from what. I didn't really understand what his letter says.
Well, I think the intention was to point out that you're 8 feet more in the setback than.
I'm not sure. Well, I don't know. I don't know what 8 feet from what.
Tom, could you just shed, just on this one aspect, Tom, the survey that was incorrect or difficult to read or interpret, is there any culpability on the part of the town as it relates to that, or?
Let me shed some light on this. When we take in a generator application, they give us the applicant's proposed location where they chose to put it in. With that, we required a variance for that proposed location. Part of the variance is to verify at the end with an as-built survey that you did put it where you intended to. In this case, they did not put it where they proposed to put it. They put it elsewhere. That's why we are back here. So the town is not culpable for this location. It's the applicant chose to put it in a different location for whatever reason, misinterpretation. It's just the fact that it's not where it was intended to be.
And is the delta approximately the 8 feet that Ms. McCarthy is talking about?
I do not have the original application, but that is somewhat correct, yes.
Okay.
So
The thing is that when I proposed it and I had pictures showing exactly where it would be, and that was what was approved. So we just assumed that that was all correct.
Well, pictures.
It was approved.
Pictures with the flag, and that's where the generator was.
So
I
the
don't
question is, how close is the actual installation to where it was originally proposed to be? You're saying 8 feet, but 8 feet in what direction? Because
I don't know.
If it's
I don't really understand.
if it's 8 feet closer to the road, I would have no problem with that because there's nobody around. You're on a corner lot, and there's that generator could be 8 feet or 3 feet or 5 feet more or less either way toward the road. It wouldn't affect anybody at all. I wouldn't have any idea, any objection to that whatsoever.
Thank you. Really, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just trying to get an idea as to what the location was proposed to be in regard to where it is now, so that we can determine if it's going to negatively affect any of the neighborhood. If it's near the road, I don't think it negatively will affect anything. If it's back farther toward your neighbor, I do know your neighbor is pretty far away from you, and there's a lot of screening there. So depending on what it was proposed to be originally, that may not, or it may be a problem as well until we get the exact numbers.
Well, it's very far from all of my neighbors, exactly where it is right now. And all of the neighbors, and none of the neighbors have complained about it. It's really quite far from, 8 feet here or there, that wouldn't make any difference whatsoever. I'm not even sure the direction that it's supposed, where, I'm not sure if it's from the street that it's 8 feet or if it's from the property of my neighbor. But my neighbor is very far away from this location, and they don't mind at all. It's just a little strip of land. I have the house and then a driveway, and then right behind the driveway is where the generators are, and there's some bushes hiding it. And then after that, there's a piece of land and then the road. And then my neighbor is way off. His house is way off beyond, you don't really see the house much. It's very far away. And the other neighbor has a house kind of on a hill across the street, very far from that road. And then then the front of the house isn't near the generator. So it's really kind of isolated. You could move it around, but it seems like it isn't going to change any effect on anybody.
Well, what I'm driving at is I'm familiar with your location and your situation.
Okay.
And I don't think where the generator is right now is negatively affecting anybody. I don't see how they could have. You have a large piece of property and the neighbors are pretty well spaced apart. And it's my personal feeling that if you had come to us with this particular location initially, we probably would have granted it anyway. because there was a mix-up and a confusion with the survey and situations like that. It does happen on occasion. It's not the first time things like this have happened. In your particular instance, I don't think it's a problem. I mean, I can't speak for the rest of the board, but I think where it is now is just as good of a place as where you had originally intended to put it. And like I say, it was an inadvertent mistake, and I wouldn't worry about it if it were me.
Thank you.
I would agree with Tony.
Thank you.
Pam, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on this matter?
No, there is not.
Board, are there any other questions or comments? I move that we close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Chairman Kenneth Cooper,
In favor?
Anthony Giardina,
Aye.
Harvey Bonaparte,
Aye.
Howard Dubs,
Aye.
Michael Nolan.
Aye.
Who'd like to make a motion?
Well, since I've been a big mouth on this one, I may as well make the motion. Okay, with regard to the McCarthy application for the installation of a generator, I'm going to move that we approve the application for the front yard setback of 28 feet where 75 is required, requiring us 47-foot variance, and a rear yard setback of 20 feet where 60 feet is required, requiring a 40-foot variance for the following reasons. This generator application was previously approved by the board in a similar location due to an inadvertent measurement snafu. The generator was not installed exactly as required by the former approval. The misplacement of the generator was not done maliciously. It was inadvertently installed in that location. That being said, the location that it is installed at is not in any way detrimental to the neighborhood. If we had had these measurements originally, I do believe we would have granted anyway. There will be no adverse effect to the physical and environment conditions in the neighborhood. Once again, it's a self-created hardship, but that should not adversely affect our approval of this application. There are no other method other than granting the variance to achieve the desired end for this applicant. And do we have a final survey that's correct now, Tom?
Yes, sir, we do.
We do. Okay, so we don't need a new survey.
Correct.
So since we don't need a new survey, I will just make a motion that we approve as installed and as survey has been presented to the building department. Kind of rambling, but that's it.
I'll second.
Chairman Kenneth Cooper,
No.
Anthony Giardina,
Aye.
Harvey Bonaparte,
Aye.
Howard Dubs,
Aye.
Michael Nolan.
Aye.
Thank you. You have your variance.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Okay. Frankel.
Hello.
Hello. Mr. Frankel,
Yes.
you're up.
Okay. We are trying to put in a standby generator, and in the process of looking at that, the location, which is right next to the house, we thought was adequate distance from the closest neighbor side yard. But then we realized that the chain link fence that has been visibly appearing to look like that was the property line for the last 25 years I lived here, apparently it isn't. It's closer in. So, you know, putting the generator right next to the house, like a few feet away, was still less than the 45 feet required. There's also the issue of an existing shed that I put in many years ago, and we became aware that that's not within. So the variance would take care of both of them by allowing us a little more room. There's no other place really to put either one of these guys. You know, my property is a lot of woods, and it's also a very steep slope. And as my wise mother said 25 years ago, she goes, "You don't have any usable property. Are you crazy?" So, we like the house, but there is a limited amount of space to do things with. So I think I have the survey here. One of you put it up, or should I put it up? Do I need to put it up?
If you'd like to put it up.
Yeah, let me see if I can get that. Okay. Here we go. Sorry. So this is a zoomed in section that I showed Tom DePaul. This is the house. This is where you come in with the driveway. And there's woods here between my neighbor's house and me. You see this line here? That we always assume was the property line, but that was a mistake. That's chain link fence. It's been there since I've been there. But apparently this is the actual property line, which moved things a little bit. The shed that we're legalizing, I paid for the permit and the CO, and I paid the penalty for the shed that's been there already. And the generator, we wanted to put about, I don't know, 10, 12 feet away on the side of there's a little walkway here. I'm just on the side. So kind of moving the variance would move the number of feet a little closer to the house. So Tom, I don't remember exactly, was it like 20 feet difference?
The measurements are listed on the survey. You've got a 25-foot distance from the property line to the generator.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So-
why can't the generator, Mr. Frankel, be closer to the house?
It is close to the house. Here's the garage.
Closer.
Okay, I understand. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This is the garage, right? And the power comes in underneath the deck. So to be fairly close to where the power comes to the house and also tap into existing propane tank, the man from Wall County who did the estimate, looking at it, said he thought it would make a lot of sense to put the generator right here. So it's close enough to the propane and close enough also to where the electrical supply comes in. And there's like a 3-foot wide walkway along the side of the garage, and then immediately next to that would be where we'd put the generator. Hope that clarifies things.
But it looks like the propane tank is right up against your property line, as is the pool almost.
Well, that was there when I moved in 25 years ago.
The propane tank is above ground or below ground?
Above. It was there, placed by the propane company. When I moved in 25 years ago, the pool was where it is, the deck was where it is, and the propane tank is where it is.
And when did you erect the shed?
It was about, I guess, about 20 years ago, Home Depot special thing.
And how did you go about selecting the location for the shed?
It was really about the only logical place to put it, because here you come in the driveway, right? And there's the garage, and this is woods, right? There's a little bit of lawn here. There's a little bit of lawn here, and then woods, and there's the house and the driveway area. This is a steep slope down, the only place really that makes any sense to put the shed was right here, so that, you know, we could put the snow blower and the lawnmower in there, and it's near the garage.
But you have 2 acres. We're only looking at approximately 1/2 of the
Yeah.
the parcel. Is that, so what about?
I can pull out, but the reason I showed you this is it shows in much closer detail.
No. Okay, no.
But the other thing is the rest of the house is like around the house is like pretty much woods. But let me see. You want to see the larger version?
Yes, if you don't mind.
Yeah, let me see if I can do that.
I mean, we'd just like you to explain to the board, everything seems to be on the one side of the property,
Right.
when you appear to have a great deal of room on the other side of the property. In
Right.
some cases where it may not require a variance.
Well, I understand that hypothetically, except that my house, everything else around the property is either lawn, a steep slope, or woods. Do you guys see that survey up on now?
No, I think you have to stop sharing this one and put up the other one.
You got it now?
No.
Oh. I thought I did a new share, sorry.
Let me unshare you and then reshare. How about that?
Okay.
Okay, now reshare again.
No, that's the wrong one, I'm sorry. I'm gonna stop. I want to show you the correct one here. Okay. That ought to do it.
Same one.
No, this is, oh, you're right, I'm sorry. This is the whole house.
You have another copy that is horizontal that shows the entire parcel.
Yeah.
So you have to stop sharing this again.
I got you.
Okay.
Sorry, guys.
Nope.
My apologies. I didn't realize I would have to have all these ready to go to show you guys. But I'll get it. I'm almost there. Okay, here we go.
How high is the deck?
Sorry?
How high is the deck?
Um,
You have a deck behind your garage. How high is that wood deck?
yeah, it's I don't have the measurements in front of me, but it's this area here.
Right.
And there's a little walkway along the side of the garage, and just to the right of that walkway is where we wanted to put the generator.
Okay, but how high is your deck?
Oh, how high is the deck?
Yes.
It's over 8 feet high from the bottom. It's, again, the property is on a slope, you know? So at the furthest end out, it's like 8 feet.
So
high.
Is it possible to put the generator under the deck?
Possibly. I talked to the generator guy about that as a possible option. He said we could do that, but the easiest thing to do would be to put it here where we proposed. But it's also possible it could be put under the deck at the far end.
Because you wouldn't need a variance for the generator. then.
I still need it for the shed, so we thought
Well,
we
you still need it for the shed.
Yeah, can't we do them together? They're right next to each other.
Well, we want to minimize the amount of variances we give.
I understand that, but they're literally about 10 feet apart. I mean, the shed is here and the generator would be here, and the variance is this way. So it would be really like one variance, no?
I think, Howard, because of the configuration of the lot, I think even moving north up, I think because of the way the lot is situated, I don't think that you gain a lot, or in our case, would minimize the variance by much.
Well, we would eliminate the generator variance.
I don't think so, Howard, because I think the house is legally existing non-conforming with regard to that sideline.
Oh, it is? Well, okay.
So if you put a generator under the deck, you still need to get a variance because it's already too close to the sideline. So
The other thing is that, the generator guy said that they don't like to put generators under decks in any event, even if there's a good distance. I mean, it's possible, but they said it's much preferable to get it away so it's not right under the deck where people would be on the deck and the fumes would go up and stuff.
You know, Howard, he needs 45 feet on that side. I don't think there's, it could be minimized, to your point.
Well, no, but I think it would be eliminated, but I could be wrong. If it's not at least 45 feet to that sideline.
Tom, do you have an opinion about generators and clearances under decks? Is there anything in the code about it, or?
There is the manufacturer specifications. They require 5 feet from the top of the enclosure. And if he doesn't have the 5 feet, he will not be able to put a generator underneath that. And then there's also the distances for windows. And the fact that the fumes do rise, and this generator will exercise once a week. If there's family gatherings on the deck, they'll have to be postponed until that exercise is over. So it is not a preferable area. It's usually a last resort when there's a development coverage problem.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, that answers that.
Pam, is there anyone in the audience to speak to this matter?
No, there isn't.
Are there any other questions by the board? I move that we close a public hearing.
I'll second.
Chairman Kenneth Cooper,
In favor?
Anthony Giardina,
Aye.
Harvey Bonaparte,
Aye.
Howard Dubs,
Aye.
Michael Nolan.
Aye.
I'll make a motion. I move that the Frankel application for 2 variances, one for a shed requiring a 19-foot side yard variance, and the other for the installation of a generator requiring a 20-foot generator, 20-foot variance, both be approved for the following reasons. The applicant has made a compelling case that the locations of both items, given the pre-existing non-conforming nature of the lot and the confines of the lot as it relates to steep slopes and wooded areas, make for the correct location for these 2 items. There will be no undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood. The benefit cannot be sought through other means. The requested variances are substantial. The proposed variance will not have an adverse impact on the physical environment, and the alleged difficulty is not self-created because of pre-existing non-conformity. You'll have 6 months, and there are no neighbors to speak in opposition. You'll have 6 months to start and 1 year to complete, and we will need an as-built survey after completion.
I'll second that.
Chairman Kenneth Cooper,
In favor?
Anthony Giardina,
Aye.
Harvey Bonaparte,
Aye.
Howard Dubs,
Aye.
Michael Nolan.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Frankel. You have your variances.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Question, do I have to wait 6 months to begin the work or can it start sooner?
Start as soon as you want, as soon as you have your building permit and.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Good night, sir.
Aye.
Tedesco is next.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is David Orango. I represent Mr. Arellano, the architect, for the addition and alteration from Tedesco and Harold residence in 30 Salem Road, Chappaqua. Let me share my screen. You see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. The house is located, if you see, here. This is the number one. This is the house we have here for Mrs. Tedesco and Mr. Harold. And the proposing we are doing is an addition in the left corner of the house and at the front porch. The house is an existing non-conforming lot. We're requesting, 3 different variants for, because the lot is in a corner lot, that means it's applicable for 2 front yards. And we have one yard is in the Playwood Road and the other yard is in the Silence Road. Let me show in the screen. We're proposing, make an addition here. The setback from this one, they need to be 40 feet, but we're asking for, 38.65. I mean, we're requesting 2 feet variance for the Playwood Road side. And the front of the house.
I'm sorry. What is the purpose of the addition on?
Oh, let me show you the plans. Is to make the house a little bit larger in the kitchen area. And let me show you the plan.
I can hop in here too. Am I unmuted?
Oh, Mrs. Hurley.
Hi.
Mrs.
Yeah,
Tedesco.
so we have one area that's kitchen and dining and it's 8 feet wide, which is, it's kind of even hard to get like a family table in there. So we're looking to push out a little bit just so we can like have family dinners a little bit more easily, have the grandparents over. We're kind of cramped at this 8 foot width. So just need, it may sound small, 3 feet, but it's going to be kind of life-changing.
We understand. Thank you.
And okay, in the front, we tried to put, make like the front porch. We put in the columns. That now is an existing landing there. We're using the same landing, but we only to cover it up in the entrance. And the back, because the corner of
I'm sorry, sir. Just on the portico there.
Yeah.
So are you adding to the intrusion into the site, into the front yard there?
Because no, let me show you in the site plan.
I understand there's a platform and you're adding columns.
Yep.
On the existing.
Are you coming closer to Salem Road?
No.
No, it's still in the same, but the setback, the existing landing is, if you see here, you see the setback?
Yeah, no, I get that. I'm trying to make it easy on you, okay? You're not, the variance is not a result of the improvements that you're making. It's just because of the pre-existing nonconformity. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Please continue.
Okay. And in the rear, we have the same situation because it's an existing non-conforming, and we added the corner here. We still, over the setback. Because we made the house, we made the addition in this flush with the existing house.
So again, you're not expanding into the setback. Is that correct?
In this case, we expanded.
I think I understood only the expansion to the left. I don't know if that's the west or not. Is the only instance in which the expansion is further into the setback. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Check here. You see, I show you with this. This is the addition we make in the left side of the house. That means that if you see the north will be north, this will be what, south, basically, because north will be this one.
Yeah.
The addition is here. And this line is the setback. Because the houses are not conforming, because we are over the setback.
Right.
And the addition we put in is flush with existing house. We're still doing, increasing and the variance because we are doing like that.
And so you're increasing the width of the kitchen by 3 feet, and you're in a sense enclosing the entrance to the house.
We make the front porch.
Yes.
Not an enclosure. It's not an enclosure.
No,
it's
not
simply,
enclosure. It's only
it's
a
simply
roof.
like, rain roof when we're sitting out playing with the kids, sunroof, that kind of thing.
Okay.
But it's not enclosure. It's only 2 columns with the roof over.
David, it might help to just show that front rendering just so
Yes,
everyone
I
here
think
can
would
kind of
be
see.
maybe-
And really the difference is right now the step is there in the door. We've added just literally the portico over it. Yeah, perfect.
This is the entrance, the new entrance. 2 columns and the roof.
Right.
Over the existing landing they have there.
You're not changing the landing.
No, we only, we want to make put in the stone in the same thing, but that's it. It's the same size. We don't make anything bigger than that.
Mhm. And as a result of the increase in 3 feet on the side of the house, that's causing you to need 2 variants.
Yes, we need the variance for the plywood road in the rear yard.
Right.
Hey, David, could
Yes,
you
ma'am.
show a photo of the house? You can kind of see the way it's actually going to go behind a tree, that front variance, the way we have our landscaping. If you could just kind of zoom in. Yeah, so if you zoom in on the photo and on the top left, so it's just going to push out a little bit behind that it's like a little tree there in a bush.
If you see in the photo, you see the landing here.
Right.
And we extended the house in this direction. This is the area we extended 3 feet.
And there's like a big boxwoods there that it kind of extends behind. You can kind of see it there.
Amanda, is this the application that you wrote to us, I think, just before the meeting?
No, that was on 10 Frog Rock.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Pam, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on this matter?
No, there is not.
Board, any other comments or questions? I make a motion, we close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Chairman Kenneth Cooper,
In favor?
Anthony Giardina,
Aye.
Harvey Bonaparte,
Aye.
Howard Dubs,
Aye.
Michael Nolan.
Aye.
I'll make a motion that the Tedesco application requiring a front yard variance and a rear yard variance, front yard variance of 2 feet, rear yard variance of 7 feet for the, for an addition, which will result in a more usable kitchen, and a 4-foot variance for a front portico. That these 2 variances be approved for the following reasons. This is a pre-existing non-conforming lot. In the case of the portico, there will not be a further extension into the setback than exists today. The addition requires a minimal expansion into the setback, but this will allow for the homeowner to create a more usable kitchen dining area than exists today. There will be no undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood. The benefit cannot be sought through other means. The requested variances are not substantial. There will be no adverse impact on the physical environment, and the alleged difficulty is not self-created given the pre-existing nonconformity. There are no neighbors who have spoken in opposition. You will have 6 months to start and 1 year to complete, and we will need a foundation survey prior to framing.
I'll second that.
Chairman Kenneth Cooper,
In favor?
Anthony Giardina,
Aye.
Harvey Bonaparte,
Aye.
Howard Dubs,
Aye.
Michael Nolan.
Aye.
Thank you. You have your variance.
Thank you very much. Have a good
Thank you
night.
so much. Have a good night.
You're welcome.
Minutes approval?
Jackie, you're looking for battle pay? Is that why your voice has changed through the course of the meeting tonight?
I'm telling you, it started in the afternoon and it's like in full gear right now. It's awful. Terrible.
I don't know what actress you sound like, but there must be one that has a very deep voice. I make a motion that the board adopt the meeting minutes for the February 23rd meeting.
I'll second.
Chairman Kenneth Cooper,
In favor?
Anthony Giardina,
Aye.
Harvey Bonaparte,
Aye.
Howard Dubs,
Aye.
Michael Nolan.
Aye.
So Eric, do we want to talk, and Amanda, do we want to talk about next month's meeting and whether or not we want to do it differently or not do it differently, or?
Well, no, I mean, I guess as far as noticing, if you want to continue to do the virtual, we can. There's a possibility the governor's not going to extend the state of emergency. It's all up to whether, and there's a new variant around now, so governor may extend, she may not. If I think Jackie can keep doing the notices in the alternative, which is what we've been doing, for a couple of months now. If the board wants to continue all virtual, if they're able to, that's fine. Otherwise, we'll go back to the board being in person, I guess, unless somebody wants to give, notice of their address at the, prior to the next meeting. And I think that Newcastle's generally doing hybrid for most of their meetings. I think that the town board is certainly doing hybrid. I don't know what the planning board is doing, Amanda, these days, if they're in person or if they're still doing virtual.
I'm not sure what the planning board's doing.
I mean, I guess you could do require people to come in person, everybody to come in person. I think if we have the technology to do the hybrid, I know you guys don't prefer that, but that limits the number of people coming to the meeting. But that's really up to you, so.
How does everybody else feel about it?
My feeling is if if we're not gonna do it totally in person, let's continue to do it on the Zoom.
What if we
Until-
did it? What
Until
if
the
we did
state
them all?
says we
at-
can't.
What if we all went to Ken's house and just did it there?
That's fine,
We only
sounds
need
good.
one
I get the
address.
real, but the real question is, Tony, if the governor says you can't do it only by Zoom, and you guys actually have, and you guys at least have to be there, and there has to be a place for people to come, do you want to give a virtual option to the public and to the applicants?
Well, if the governor says we can't do it by Zoom, then we have to do it in person. Or if the
No,
governor-
because
if-
you
if
have
the
to be
governor-
there.
Governor
No,
says we can
what-
do a hybrid.
The only thing that the governor would say is you have to have a physical meeting place, and the board members have to be there in person unless they want to give notice of where they're going to be, electronically.
Okay.
That's what the open meeting law says. There's nothing that restricts the public from appearing, virtually if you have a way to do it, which I think Newcastle does,
Right.
That's what the town board, I believe, has been having a virtual option for people to show up by Zoom if they want to, make presentations by Zoom, have public comment by Zoom, but the board shows up in person, typically. The issue would be is if the governor says the state of emergency is over, you as the board has to be there in person unless you want to allow somebody to come to your home or wherever you are. That's the only limitation of the open meetings law.
But that sounds okay. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
All right, we'll know. We'll have Jackie continue to do the alternative one. I think the
Right.
alternative right now says if it's the state of emergency isn't followed, that you should basically check the agenda for what, how there's going to be an in-person meeting, and whether we give it a virtual option will be, we'll make that decision at that point in time. So,
Good.
okay. I think Amanda wanted to talk to you a little bit about the Frog Rock application we had last week. I know you got a memo from Tom, so Amanda, why don't you fill the board in?
Okay, so I just sent a memo that kind of addresses some of the points raised by council for 8 Frog Rock, the neighbor. They'd raised some concerns about when the different pieces were constructed and whether they're all pre-existing non-conforming. So the memo kind of outlines letters that we received from prior building inspectors and goes through that. Not only are all the features constructed prior to the development coverage variance, but many of them actually precede the certificate of occupancy requirement. And then I also went into the fact that Tom had spoken to the ARB about the plans that were submitted because there was a concern of whether the plans were consistent and whether the plans were the same ones that were approved by the ARB. And Tom had said that they're definitely the same plans, that there's no changes, and maybe there was someone misspoke on the meeting or there was a misunderstanding by the applicant. So we also need to kind of discuss whether we want the applicant to get approval for the accessory apartment prior to coming back for the variance.
Tom, have you spoken to anybody about that at this point?
There's been no further conversations.
The applicant hasn't reached out to you at this point. No.
No
Yeah,
one's reached out.
Called me in the beginning of the week, and I think their intention is to try and get on the April meeting, if they can. I don't
For
know.
the planning board.
For zoning.
Oh.
They've been talking to the neighbors and they have revisions, and they were going to try to submit the revisions for the April meeting. So I don't know how that all works with planning and all that.
So they need an approval from the planning board for the accessory apartment. Just depends if, I think it would make more sense to go to the planning board first than to come for the variance, if they need the variance still.
I think they're also planning on trying to go back before the ARB because their revisions, since it's different now from what the ARB approved from, you know, what I spoke about with the neighbor, I think they're going back to ARB as well. So they were trying to do that, I believe, for April. So.
Why don't we, Amanda, we wanted to update you on that. I'm not sure, we'll see if they get back. I think, Tom, we have to decide if we're going to tell them that, there's, or if any of the members have a preference, whether they should get an approval from the planning board before they come back to you, seeking whatever variances they're seeking. But the planning board does have to grant, as Amanda said, the accessory apartment, because it exceeds the permitted size, unless they're planning to reduce the size of the accessory apartment somehow. I don't know, so.
Is
Can
there
we
anything?
approve, excuse me, can we
No, go-
approve if there's a contingency that they get planning board approval?
We can certainly, usually I think we like to get the planning board's input before we grant the variances. I mean, that's typically what, I know the board typically likes to do,
No, I
It
think,
seems to me that they should get all their ducks in a row before they come back to us. They should get the ARB situated, they should get the planning board situated, and then come back to us. Otherwise, there's gonna be a lot of back and forth and no problem.
So Tom and Jag, I think we need to tell them, look, they can certainly come back before the zoning board, but there may be an issue if they don't have an approval from the planning board for the accessory apartment then. I think you could tell them the preference would be that they get their approval from the planning board. So that if the planning board does have any changes regarding the, I mean, I know it's existing, but if the planning board does have any recommendations, or conditions, that they can be incorporated in the zoning board's variance as well, so.
Okay.
So I think that's what I'm hearing, and that's, so we wanted to get your input on that, so that's good to know.
We will notify them.
Okay, that sounds good. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Oh, I
All
think we wanted to point out, so if you deny an application, or not entirely, but it might make sense to give a reason. It's better for the record. Just
Ken, you voted no tonight on
In my
something.
case,
That was McCarthy for the generator.
yeah. I felt the board had made a determination as to the maximum variance, and the applicant went ahead and exceeded it. And so I felt that the applicant, their contractor or consultant or combination thereof should have corrected the error, and it appeared to me that they ultimately, though, they seemed to be suggesting that there was some inconsistency with the survey, that in the end it was their own ineptitude about reading the survey that resulted in their placing it in the wrong location.
Yeah, I think what we're saying is just put that on, if you're gonna vote no, it's probably good to give the applicant an idea why, and it might also, advise some of the other board members regarding that reasoning. Certainly, if the majority is gonna vote no, then we have to, make sure that that's explained and why you don't think they meet all the 5 factors of the test. But it's just good practice that if you're gonna vote no, you give some explanation, to show why it's different from because the resolution is authorizing a grant of approval. So always a good idea if you have a basis for doing it. So.
Okay, I'll work on that for next meeting.
No problem. Tony's good at that, though.
And what, saying no? I don't say
Well, no, when you say no, why you're saying no,
Oh, yeah, I agree.
So, no, the big one is if 3 of you are going to vote no, then we got to have a good reason why 3 of you are voting no. So that's always the biggest one. So,
Absolutely.
okay.
Okay, good night, everyone.
Good night.
All right.
Good
Take
night.
care, everybody. Yep.
Good night.
Good night.